Before you push that cart down another aisle, before you toss another loaf of bread or bottle of oil into your basket without a second thought, I need you to stop and really think about what you're putting into your body and handing to your family. Because almost everything you assume about the food on your grocery store shelves is built on marketing, not truth. And once you understand how the system actually works, you will never shop the same way again. We trust labels because we have to. Nobody has time to research every product they buy, so we rely on packaging, on brand names we recognize, on words like natural and healthy and wholesome that are printed in soft green fonts designed to make us feel safe. But food companies know this, and they exploit it, spending more money on the psychology of packaging than on the ingredients themselves. Let's start with something almost everyone eats without thinking twice: bread. Walk into any supermarket and you'll see loaf after loaf promising to be whole grain or made with real wheat. Yet many of these breads contain more sugar per slice than a chocolate chip cookie, along with dough conditioners, preservatives, and bleached flour that has been stripped of the nutrients that made whole grain worth eating in the first place. Some of the additives used to keep bread soft on the shelf for weeks are the same compounds used in yoga mats and shoe soles, added purely for texture and shelf life, not nutrition. That doesn't mean every commercial loaf is dangerous, but it does mean the healthy multigrain label on the front of the bag often has almost nothing to do with what's actually inside. And the only way to know is to flip the package over and read the ingredient list yourself, because a genuinely whole grain bread should list whole wheat flour as the very first ingredient. Not sugar, not enriched flour, and not a chemical name you can't pronounce. Now, let's talk about something that feels like the definition of healthy: olive oil. For years, we've been told that a good drizzle of extra virgin olive oil is one of the healthiest things you can add to your diet, and there's real science behind that when the oil is genuine. The problem is that extra virgin is one of the most abused labels in the entire food industry. Independent testing over the years has repeatedly found that a significant percentage of oils sold as extra virgin on store shelves fail to meet the actual chemical and sensory standards for that grade. Meaning what you're pouring on your salad might be a blend cut with cheaper, lower quality oils, or oil that is already oxidized and gone rancid before you even open the bottle. Rancid oil doesn't just taste worse, it can also generate compounds linked to inflammation in the body. So how do you protect yourself? Look for a harvest date on the bottle, not just a best buy date. Buy oil in dark glass bottles instead of clear ones, since light degrades the oil. And be suspicious of any extra virgin olive oil priced dramatically lower than its competitors, because quality olive oil is expensive to produce, and if the price seems too good to be true, the label probably is too. Bottled water might feel like the safest choice on the shelf, cleaner and purer than what comes out of your tap, but that assumption deserves a closer look. Multiple independent studies testing bottled water brands have detected microplastics inside the bottles themselves, tiny fragments of plastic shed from the packaging and the bottling process, small enough to pass into your bloodstream. Some bottled water is nothing more than filtered municipal tap water, repackaged and sold back to you at a massive markup, which means you might be paying hundreds of times more for something remarkably similar to what already flows from your kitchen faucet. That's not to say all bottled water is a scam or a health risk, but it does mean the imagery on the label, the mountain springs, the glaciers, the pristine forests, is often pure fantasy designed to justify the price tag. And if water quality is your real concern, a good home filtration system paired with a reusable bottle will likely serve you better, both for your health and for your wallet. Cooking oils are another area where medical advice has quietly shifted in recent years. For decades, many of us were told that vegetable oils and seed oils like canola, soybean, and corn oil were the heart-healthy alternative to butter and animal fats. Now, a growing number of physicians and researchers are raising concerns about how heavily processed these oils are. Extracted using high heat and chemical solvents, then deodorized and bleached to strip away the natural smell and color that would otherwise make them unpalatable. Some experts worry about the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio these oils create in the modern diet, and about the unstable compounds that can form when these oils are repeatedly heated, which happens constantly in restaurant fryers and packaged snack food production. This doesn't mean you need to panic and empty your pantry, but it does mean it's worth understanding the difference between oils that are minimally processed, like cold-pressed olive oil or avocado oil, and oils that have been industrially refined to the point where very little of their original character remains, and choosing based on how a product is made rather than simply which fat category it falls into. Breakfast cereal is where the food industry's relationship with children becomes most obvious. Walk down the cereal aisle and you'll find cartoon mascots, bright colors, and health claims plastered across boxes that, when you actually check the nutrition label, often contain as much sugar in a single serving as a candy bar. Added sugar can appear under more than 50 different names on an ingredient list, from high fructose corn syrup to cane juice to dextrose, which makes it easy for a product to look moderate at first glance while still delivering a significant sugar load, especially once you account for the fact that most people pour a larger portion than the label's serving size suggests. The real danger isn't a single bowl of cereal, it's the pattern. A sugar-heavy breakfast every single morning for years, training a child's palate to expect that level of sweetness from food, and setting up habits that are difficult to unwind later in life. If you're shopping for cereal, look for options where sugar sits low on the ingredient list, where whole grains actually come first, and where fiber content is meaningfully high. Because fiber is what helps slow sugar absorption. It keeps you full until lunch instead of hungry again by mid-morning. Fast food supply chains reveal an entirely different set of concerns, less about individual ingredients and more about the sheer scale and speed of industrial food production. Most fast food chains rely on centralized processing facilities that transform raw ingredients into shelf-stable, freezer-ready components long before they ever reach a restaurant kitchen, which means a lot of what gets cooked at your local location is really just reheating and assembly. To survive that industrial journey, ingredients are engineered for consistency and shelf life rather than flavor or nutrition, which is part of why flavor additives, stabilizers, and preservatives show up so frequently in fast food ingredient lists. None of this makes fast food inherently poisonous. People have eaten it for decades. But it does mean that convenience comes with trade-offs in freshness and nutritional density that are worth being honest with yourself about, especially if fast food makes up a significant share of your weekly meals rather than an occasional treat. Then there's the word organic, which carries enormous weight with shoppers willing to pay a premium for it, often without fully understanding what the label actually guarantees. Organic certification does restrict the use of synthetic pesticides and genetically modified ingredients, and that's meaningful, but it does not automatically mean a product is healthier, lower in sugar, or less processed. You can buy organic cookies loaded with organic cane sugar and organic vegetable oil that are nutritionally almost identical to their non-organic counterparts, just at a higher price. The lesson here isn't that organic labeling is meaningless, it's that organic answers a specific question about how food was grown or raised, not a broader question about whether that food is good for you, and conflating the two is exactly what marketing departments are counting on you to do. Grocery stores themselves are engineered environments and almost nothing about their layout is accidental. Milk and eggs are placed at the back of the store because it forces you to walk past dozens of other tempting products just to grab the essentials. Products at eye level are typically the most profitable for the store, not necessarily the best value, while cheaper, often better options sit on lower or higher shelves where you have to actually look for them. End-of-aisle displays create a false sense of urgency and discount, even when the item isn't meaningfully cheaper than it would be on the regular shelf. Even the music and lighting are chosen to slow you down and keep you in the store longer. Once you recognize these tactics for what they are, a psychological maze designed to maximize your spending, it becomes much easier to shop with a plan, stick to a list, and resist the impulse purchases stacked strategically near the checkout line. Finally, let's address protein powder, a product millions of people scoop into their morning shakes believing they're doing something purely beneficial for their health. Independent lab testing of protein powders on the market has, in a number of cases, found detectable levels of heavy metals like lead and cadmium, along with other contaminants that shouldn't be anywhere near a product marketed as a health supplement. This doesn't mean every single protein powder on the market is dangerous. Contamination levels and sourcing practices vary widely between brands. But it does mean this category deserves the same scrutiny you'd apply to any supplement, because protein powders are regulated far more loosely than most people assume, and a flashy label with words like clean or natural is not a substitute for actual third-party testing. If protein powder is part of your routine, look specifically for products that carry independent certification from a testing organization, and don't assume that a higher price automatically means a purer product. So where does all of this leave you? Not with a reason to panic every time you walk into a grocery store, but with a reason to slow down and read past the marketing on the front of the package. The front of a box or bottle is written by a marketing team with one goal: convincing you to buy it. The back of that same package, the ingredient list, the nutrition facts, the actual sourcing information when it's available, is where the truth usually lives. Building a habit of checking that information before it goes into your cart or before it goes into your body is one of the simplest and most powerful changes you can make. Not because every product on the shelf is out to get you, but because the system rewards the appearance of health far more than it rewards health itself. And the only person truly incentivized to close that gap is you.